Hello, sports-loving people. Greetings to you wherever you could be watching us from in the world. My name is Collen Maepa. Welcome to another episode of UJ Sport on UJTV. In 1998, South Africa's Bafana Bafana qualified for the FIFA Soccer World Cup in France. The creative soccer-loving South Africans were singing Siaya e France to watch the golden generation that represented us so well, the likes of John Shoes Mushweu, Dr. Kumalo, Neil Tovi, Philemon Masinga, Helman Mkelele, you name them. It was very beautiful during that time. That was 1998 France, right? During the Soccer World Cup. Now, we are shooting this special episode during a very special moment in history where South Africa also just eliminated the hosts, the French, in the Rugby World Cup in France recently. So if you watch that game, you know how it went down. And South Africans tend to win when they go to France. I mean, I'm sure you remember how Bafana Bafana did there. And now it seems like the Rugby World Cup will go all the way to the final. Well, we have a UJ student here, Caitlin Rooskrantz. You know her, a professional gymnast at UJ. She has qualified to represent South Africa in the upcoming Paris Olympic Games in 2024. Sounds right, eh?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's just starting to actually settle in. It's been quite a rough year, just all in all, traveled quite a lot in this past month. But yeah, I'm very happy to have come back with an Olympic qualification. That's been my goal since Tokyo. And exciting that I get to experience another Olympics and an Olympics properly this time, not under COVID conditions.
When we first shot the first episode of UJ Sport on UJTV, you were actually the first person to go, right? And you shared that you wanted to qualify for the Paris Olympics. I mean, that's every athlete's dream to qualify at the highest level. Please, let's watch what she had to say about that. Everyone right now who's a high-performance athlete in the world is preparing to go to France for the Olympic Games next year.
Yeah, so that is major goal for me right now also. The first step of my qualification process actually starts now at the end of March. We have our national championships and our trials. So it is the trials for the African championships. So my goal is to try and be in that team. So then I can be a part of the African Championships team that goes to the African Championships. And at the African Championships, we'll then have to qualify for the World Championships. And once we've then accomplished that, which we trust that we will, get to the World Championships. And then the last and final goal is to try and be within that qualifying criteria, a certain number of points to get into that Olympic spot.
You qualified to go represent South Africa in the upcoming Olympics in Paris. You had to do your qualification in Belgium, in Antwerp, during the FIG Gymnastics World Championships. What did you do to book your ticket to France there? Just give us a little glimpse into what happened.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a interesting, but a bit of a complicated process. I think going in, I wasn't even 100% sure, but my coach did quite a deep strategy going in, and we knew exactly where I kind of needed to score to be able to be within the certain number of individuals. And for me to get a straight out qualification, I needed to be within the top 14 individuals. And if we looked at my last year's World's qualifications and the results from there, I was actually lying in 14. So we knew it was going to be a bit tight. But over the past year, I worked really hard to try and not make it that tight. And despite all of that, my competition was interesting in Belgium. It did not go 100% to plan, but for the most part, I was pretty happy. I had a bit of a mistake on bar, which is my strength and usually what I kind of rely on to give me that bit of an edge. So that didn't go as well in the comp, but everything else ended up actually going really well, which really worked in my favor because I ended up getting one of my highest scores at World Championships. And it was a grueling wait because I competed on the Sunday and there was still a whole nother day of competition on the Monday for the rest of the countries. So we only knew the official results like Monday night at like 11 o'clock while we were on a plane, by the way. And then it finally came through that I'd placed 11th out of the 14 individuals. And yeah, I think out of, if I can describe at that moment, it felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. As you guys know, it was a big dream for me to try and make going to the Olympics a reality again, and to know that, everything has been worth it, everything came together in the end. Yeah, it was a really big relief.
Yeah. So for a young person like you, only 21 years, you were born in 2001. So this story that I mentioned of Bafana competing in France, you were actually not born yet.
No.
Did you watch the Rugby World Cup, the game between France and South Africa?
Yeah.
What did you make of that, knowing that you are going there yourself?
No, it was a really intense game. I won't lie, I watched it with my parents. And it's interesting though, because I never watched normal rugby, but I watch international rugby. And when the Springboks play, bigger supporter and pretend like I know everything, even though I don't really. But it was a very stressful game all in all. But I think one thing that was very evident is the Springboks kept fighting. I think after half time, when it looked a bit shaky, they came back on and they really gave it their all. And it all worked out in the end. So I think it was good for me. I'm like, they're leaving some good energy there for us to still come next year.
Very interesting to see. It was amazing that when I checked on the social media stuff, rugby was trending all over the place, even days after the game had finished.
Yeah.
Do you feel some sort of pressure? I mean, South African teams going there and doing this well. Do you feel that when you go there, you also have to finish maybe on the podium and bring a medal to South Africa?
No. I don't feel that. I understand my capabilities and I understand what is also realistic. I'm on my own completely separate journey. And we don't, as Gymnastics South Africa, we are nowhere near where the Springboks are in the world. The Springboks also have a lot of support in all directions, a lot of financial support, and a sport like gymnastics that is a lot smaller and a very small sports in the country, we don't even have half of that support, So what we've been doing it with a lot of our own fundraising, help from our federation, from SASCOC, from fundraisers, and kind of our own efforts to try and get here. So I think it's, really big in its own that we are able to make it to the world stages and to Olympic stages, with with the circumstances that we've been dealt with. So going to something like the Olympics, I don't really put that expectation on myself. It's a really big achievement to even get there. My biggest goal for the Olympics is to finish higher than I did in Tokyo. Can't even remember that finish, but I had a personal best at that time and I've also only gotten better since then. So to hopefully have another personal best performance and see how far I can close to edge to like an all-around final maybe.
So speaking of your participation in Tokyo in 2021, of course, those were the 2020 Olympic Games. They couldn't be held in 2020 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is your second Olympics at 21. That's such a huge achievement. What do you attribute your success to?
I attribute my success to, I think, to put it quite plainly, just hard work. That's one thing I really knew about myself from a really young age, and my mom also picked up with me that I was never really someone that had to be dragged along through anything, no matter if it was my schoolwork or something that I loved like gymnastics. I kind of had this self-ignited fire inside of me that fueled me to try and get to wherever my desired goal was. And I think for me that is the recipe behind how I've gotten this far, is I really just go in the gym every day, working hard and knowing and keeping my goal in mind. I know why I'm there. I'm not there because someone's forcing me to be there, or I'm not there for external pressures really. Yes, there's a lot of expectation from people maybe around me, but for me, I know exactly what my goal is and I know what I want to do.
Stick to your guns.
Yeah, that's what
so the competition is tough in the Olympics. I mean, that's the pinnacle of a sporting competition globally, right? So we're going to see you compete against the likes of the American gymnast Simone Biles, and Melanie de Jesus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that well. She's French, Dos Santos. Where do you see yourself finishing in the Olympics?
Yeah, like I said, for me, I don't even really have an idea. I think anything that is better than what I finished in Tokyo for me is good enough. I don't really want to put that type of pressure on myself. And I understand that I also need to be realistic. Like you said, the Olympics is the pinnacle of the sport. You know, it doesn't get better than that. And the best of the best are there to compete for really major titles. And when, like you said, we're up against people like Simone Biles, so the USA team and the French team and, you know, all these really big countries that have double the amount of resources and support that we do, it's not always realistic to kind of, you know, want to say that I would like to beat Simone Biles. You know, that's a bit of a stretch. But for me, it's a privilege to even just be competing there, like I said. So my biggest goal is to go there, firstly go there injury-free and healthy and be able to compete at my peak and my prime and really just have a really good competition that I can hopefully get another personal best and see how far I can edge to as close to being in an all-round final as possible.
This lady knows her story. Who do you think will be your biggest competitors when you get there?
A lot. I mean, like, it's gymnastics. There are a lot of countries. Obviously, we're competing against most of the countries in the world, and the best of the best in the world. But like in my head, they kind of split. There's the ones where you're looking at like, you know, the USA, so like Simone Biles and them, and the French and the Chinese that are in a completely different league of their own. So as much as, yes, they are maybe, you know, quite ahead of us, that for me, they're not really my competition. And I understand that. But there are other countries in the world where they are perhaps my competition, you know. So like people like from Slovenia and Croatia and Czech Republic and Australia, England, you know, they are also good. But like I said, the Americans and the Chinese and them, they are in a different league of their own. So yeah, but just go there and do my best.
Have you been brushing up on your French skills?
I've been trying for years. So like France, well, specifically Paris, is my favorite city in the world. I love going to France, and I've been there a couple of times. And yeah, every time I go there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to move here. I love it. And then I come back and I'm like, I'm going to learn French. And then I try for like 2 weeks and then I forget about it. But yeah, I know a bit of things in French. So,
so what are you looking for in France? That one specific thing or a few things maybe that you're looking forward to seeing or doing, just aside from competing, as a young person traveling the world, enjoying yourself, what do you think you're looking forward to do there?
I think, something that I am looking forward to that will be pretty exciting is just the Olympic Village experience. Again, that was looking back on my Tokyo 2021 Olympics as well as the Commonwealth Games last year. Those are the two games where you really get to experience like being in a village. So you not only with gymnasts like we always used to, you with all different sporting codes, the best of the best from, you know, all walks of life. And for me, that is always such an inspiring experience, to be living amongst such greatness. And I think that atmosphere in the athletes village is really something very special. So definitely that. And I'm hoping to trying to plan to stay in Paris for a while after I compete, just for a bit of a holiday. And that'll be nice to, be in my favorite city, not doing work, even though I love it. But I think just having quite a bit of time to myself and exploring, really.
Caitlin, so all we can say from here at UJ Sport on UJTV and the University of Johannesburg community is all the best with your preparations for the Olympics next year. No injuries, please. Because I know you still have to do your training. Are there any competitions that you need to participate in between now and then? I mean, the Olympics will be in July, August 2024, right? So are you going to compete somewhere else? Because I'm just thinking you need to watch out for injuries just so that you can make it there in top condition.
So definitely the biggest plan for next year is to really only do what I have to before I go to Paris. Because like I said, we want to get there injury-free and be able to plan my training in a way that I do peak there. But we will probably do in the course of from April to June, maybe 1 or 2 World Cups. So those aren't really too hectic. I can go choose what I want to compete. So I'll probably compete like bar and beam. And they're not as hard on my body, but it's really just to get that international experience, get out there again, get competing. So when I go to the Olympics, it's also not my first time competing since this year. So yeah, it's kind of just to wake the body and the mind up before we go to the Olympics. But yeah, I think that will really be the gist of it. I'm not sure what is happening with our national championships next year. I could be doing that, which could maybe be also around mid to beginning of the year. But yeah, I haven't really had the sit down with my coach to break everything down, but yeah.
Thank you so much. I actually read an article online. Some of the French gymnasts will be competing there at the facilities that are marked for the Olympics. Do you think that gives them an edge that they would be competing at a venue that they already know when the Olympics come next year?
Yeah, I mean, it does.
Does it matter that you've been in this arena, for instance? If you've been competing elsewhere, does it matter that you know this place? And
I want to say, like, it does, but it also doesn't. Like, it does in a way that I think mentally it does, because you get used to a space where you compete. It's like at our home gym, if we have to have competition there, it's mentally, it's not that difficult, because you know the setup, you know what to expect, that type of energy. So I think for them, if they're going to be training there regularly, they will mentally maybe have a bit more of an edge, because they're getting used to it, they're wrapping their heads around it, they know the feel of everything. But I do also think not really, because physically, it doesn't matter where you're training, as long as you are getting your preparation done, and if you are mentally strong enough that when you get to this level of competition and when you gain this level of experience, you can, like we did for the past month, we compete in one country and you go to another one and you compete there with completely different equipment and you go to another one. So at the end of the day, it's really it doesn't play that much of a role.
Do you guys feel any nervousness before you start competing? Like, I've seen you guys are so calm, and as long as you start well, and as you progress, it's like you do it with so much confidence and you know exactly which steps to take, what move to make at what time. Do you feel any nerves before you go into such tournaments? How do you deal with nerves, first of all?
Yeah, do we feel them? Yes, I don't think it ever goes away. I've been competing for many, many years. I've been on Olympic stages, Commonwealth stages, to even at home, and yes, competing on a stage like at the World Championships, when you're competing for an Olympic spot, there's a lot of pressure. But even competing at home, I think just the nature of any competition, there will always be nerves. But that's what we learn to combat through also doing a lot of competitions and mental training. When we get to a competition, it's a lot more mental than it is physical. You've done the preparation, you've done the work, and when you step into that competition arena, it's almost as if there's a switch that you kind of like go robot, I want to almost say. You don't even have to think in your floor routine, oh my word, what's next? It comes it's like, naturally, muscle memory. You're not really thinking of that. You're kind of thinking of making everything, the small things perfect, So above all, it's really a mental thing. So going into any type of competition, we do a lot of mental training, because we know the physical work's done. It's really about how strong and how tight your mind can stay.
I know it can be nervous. Even me shooting this episode, when I start, I feel nervous a bit. But the moment we start talking, I just do it. What could possibly go wrong when you start your set, if that's what you call it? What could possibly go wrong for any gymnast?
Oh my word, what go wrong for gymnast? There's 101 things that can go wrong. It's gymnastics. It really is. It's such a technical sport.
If you don't get a first move right, how quickly do you have to adjust yourself and say, girl, you've got this, focus?
I don't think people always can comprehend how fast you have to be able to be quick thinking on your feet in gymnastics. Because I can tell you from experience, in my entire career, I think I've had about 1 or 2 competitions, and I've been competing since I was like 10, that have went to plan. Competitions rarely ever go to plan for gymnasts specifically, because it's such a technical sport, and the slightest wrong movement, even a millimeter for something on beam, you are off. so there's no room for error. And especially now when you're competing, there's nerves, you're shaking, it gets even worse, So with a sport like gymnastics, the room for error is very small, and you need to, that's what I think competing so much teaches you how to improvise really well. We've learned how to, there have been many times so what happened now at the World Championships on bar, one of my skills, I didn't time it correctly, basically. So I was supposed to do something out of it, and then I couldn't because my timing was out. And I had to, I could have gotten off and then it would have been a fall, but I kept swinging and I improvised and I did a turn and just swung out of it. Yes, I lost marks because that was not my intended thing, but I saved a full mark because I didn't fall. So it's that type of split second quick thinking that you need to your mind needs to be so ready for that. Yes, you're obviously striving to do exactly what you've practiced, but in that state, when you are that nervous, you need to be prepared for anything. And no matter what happens, pull it back. You can have an absolute disaster on one app, but you have 3 more. You can't go have a disaster of everything. You need to learn how to take that out of your mind. It's done. It happened. There's nothing you can do about it, and move on. Make the best that you can of the next thing. And I think that's also a very good life lesson that can't really dwell on the past too much. But
the world, millions of people will be watching the Paris Olympics in 2024. If you'd like to follow Caitlin on social media, what's your handle on Instagram?
At Kate Rooskrantz. So half my name, Kate, and then my surname.
Are you
Pretty
only
easy.
on Instagram?
No, I'm on Twitter as well, but I'm never there. I just go and see trends.
I follow you on Instagram, so I see the lovely pictures, the traveling that you do. Lovely stuff. Please support her, follow her on social media, and give her all the love she needs. Caitlin Rooskrantz, a professional gymnast and a second-year student at the great University of Johannesburg. Show her some love. You've seen her in the newsletters. You've seen her on our UJ Sports social media. Please continue to support her all the way to France. After France, we're still going to go to the other Olympics, right?
We'll think about that. We haven't gotten that far yet.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.